What's up, guys? How you doing today? Um, my name's Trevor. I'm going to talk to you about how to get into medical school if you're really dumb and how to get through it once you're in there. I believe I can speak on this because I am pretty dumb. Um, I think I'd like to believe I'm smart streetwise and things like that, and I could figure things out if I put my mind to it, but um, I don't have the ability to just capture information like many of my fellow colleagues can. So let me take a step back. I am currently a fourth year medical student at St. George's University. This university is in the Caribbean. We do our first 2 years in the Caribbean. It's called the Basic Sciences, and then we do 2 years outside the Caribbean in places like New York or Florida. And that's currently where I'm at. I'm in New York doing my clinical rotations, which is the last 2 years. So, all right, I'm guessing you are either in undergraduate school and you're looking to get into medicine, or you're currently in medical school and figuring out how do I fucking get through this. Well, if you're an undergrad, let me tell you how I kind of figured it out my junior year. I'm like, oh shit, I got to get my shit together. I had a poor GPA, poor science GPA, a little bit of medical experience. I think at that point I was a scribe in the ER, and I was like, oh crap, I probably should get some research experience too. So I just did a garbage research job or volunteer position, and I literally just sectioned muscle tissue, and I learned nothing. But it's something I could put down, and that's kind of what you're looking to do at this point: is look for something to put down, some kind of medical experience, some kind of research experience, one or both, is great. I think medical experience is probably better, but research will work too. Um, it's just a nice thing to have on there. But the biggest thing is your GPA. Because you're first of all, just get your GPA up. Just do whatever you can to do it. Sit down, grind, do whatever you can, and get your science GPA up as well. The schools are definitely looking at that, and that's more of a general thing, because your goal at this point is to get those things up, get those things looking good, so that you are able to get into an American medical school. That's the goal. If you're able to get into American medical school, you're flying high. But if you get into a Caribbean school, it's okay. It's just not as good, right? If you don't get into an American medical school, the first try, just apply only to American medical schools. Um, Once you do that and nothing came through for you, your options now are to apply to a Caribbean medical school. Some of them, including SGU, do every like twice a year, so you can enter either in the wintertime or in the summer, or maybe it's the spring and the fall. Either way, they have 2 times where students can enter into the program, and that's nice because then you don't have to wait as long, right? So you can either do that, or you can apply a second cycle into American medical schools, which I didn't do. A lot of people do recommend that because it is nice to get into an American medical school, especially, excuse me, if you're trying to get into a highly competitive specialty like surgery or dermatology or anything like that. So now we come to let's say you didn't get into American medical school the first time and you're going to go Caribbean, or you are just going Caribbean, whatever. Or you're still an undergrad and you're figuring out, how do I get my shit together? How do I get into a medical school? Well, this is how I did it, and this is how you're going to do it if you really want this. First, you gotta figure out, am I willing to sacrifice many other things in my life to get this done? Because if you are, good news, you can do this for sure. If you aren't, bad news, you're probably not going to make it. And maybe that's for the best. Maybe if you don't make it, it wasn't meant to be. Because if you're not willing to sacrifice all this stuff for it, then it's probably not meant for you. And that's okay. try to figure out what it is you do want to do. But let's say you are willing to sacrifice for this. Great. You're going to have to go all in, on some corny shit. It's going to have to be your everything now. Big thing that I got from David Goggins' book, Can't Hurt Me, and among other things, is you got to eviscerate the bullshit in your life. So first things first, you got to stop playing, those video games at night or during the day. You got to actually wake up and go to your shit that you got to get to. You know what you're not going to that you should be, and just make a habit of everything with that. You got to stop just talking just to talk to people. Now, if you're talking to people, it's with a purpose. You're doing it to get a research spot somewhere. I got mine through my random roommate that I had, or just ask around, ask teachers, they know, ask whoever, ask the smart person that and that same with, getting my scribe position, things like that. You just got to ask around, Google it, figure it out. If you try hard enough, you'll figure those things out. You don't need me to tell you all about that. So eviscerate the bullshit. You got to take care of all those conversations you have that are unnecessary. All those times, you can still call home and stuff or talk to people you care about, but just for a little bit. And it can't just be rambling, and you can't just be doing it just to not study, because that's going to be your life now. Essentially, is you study. That's what you do. I'm not a very good studier. I don't like doing it. I have tough times sitting down and studying all day. I have ADHD. I got all these things, right? But you make it happen. And I could make a separate video on that, on how to just sit there and work. But you kind of just figure that out in your own brain too. The more you push yourself through it, the more you sit down and are like, no, I'm not moving until I learn more about this. The better off you are. It gets easier and easier to just continue to do it. And the next day. It takes some time though, each day it gets easier that you do it. But doing it is the hard part. So once you get started, it'll be a lot easier. You just got to get started each day and keep going. I mean, there's a lot of other things I can tell you about that I probably don't have a ton of time for, but there's so many study strategies and things and different resources you can use that you got to figure out the best ones. Just keep asking questions from people, the people you respect and the people who are getting the good grades, and Google it. There's lots of people on YouTube, Ali Abdal and people like that. I'll link them in the bottom. But bottom line, go harder, work harder on the things that you don't understand, and sit there and study all day. There's some caveats to that. Don't just sit there all day, literally, and study. You have to break it up at times. So, like, for instance, I do the Pomodoro technique a little bit, or I try to force myself to do it now instead of just sit there. And that's where you stop every hour or so for 10 minutes to relax, and not just check social media and stuff, because that's not really relaxing. Just clear your mind, walk around, don't do really anything, or just clean up a little bit, and that seems to relax the mind quite a bit. But going on YouTube or something doesn't really help. One thing that you do have to do is, like I just mentioned, is you have to study harder at the things you're bad at. Don't be studying the things that are unnecessary. Well, that come easier to you. That's the stuff that you'll enjoy studying more. You don't want to study the things that are harder, but you have to go into the forest at the darkest place to find the things that you want in life. So you got to go in at the hardest point and study that, and you know exactly what that is. So you just gotta do it. For me, it was whatever, organic chemistry, whatever, copper and how that interacts and all that. So it's funny how little we remember from that, but it's important. You gotta know that stuff. It's study over everything. Still take care of your physical needs, sure. But for instance, some activity each day is helpful, but it's not required. Bottom line is study. If you don't get your studying done, you don't get what you need to get done, then your body has to suffer, and that's how I look at it. I mean, you're not a smart person, right? So you have to sacrifice some things for it. With that said, I think if you do things right, you eviscerate the bullshit and you go hard on the stuff you need to learn, and that you're not good at, and you should have plenty of time to not only study and get good grades or decent grades, good enough to get into med school and to continue into med school, but you should be able to take care of your physical health too. Be taking showers, working out sometimes, doing things that you enjoy too, like especially if they're physical activities and you can hit two birds with one stone. Like I played the ultimate frisbee when I was in medical school, and squash in undergrad. So I mean, you can't, like, one thing. That's one trap I ran into though. I was doing squash all the time in undergrad instead of studying, and I knew what I was doing. I was distracting myself from studying, and I was like, oh no, this is good for me. When okay, sure, but it's not getting me my goal. You got to be focused, focused. And that can be, it's not just sports. You can do that with cleaning up your place instead of studying. You can do that with doing whatever, dating or anything like that instead of studying. And that's what you need to be doing. If you are studying and you are getting your shit done and you are getting good grades now, fine, then you can start focusing on something else as well. But that's a long ways out. You still got to get your shit together. Like, for instance, I was very interested in dating and getting better at dating in medical school. And I was able to accomplish it as well as get my shit together and study and get the grades that I liked. But it just takes everything in you if you want to do those two things at once. I wouldn't recommend it. But if you have a drive in you to accomplish both of those things, like ferociously, then you can definitely get it done. And I did. I upgraded my dating life, and I got better grades in medical school than I ever did before. But it took everything in me every single day. So it's got to be something you definitely focus and put your mind to. But again, it's possible. You need to always be looking for better people to surround yourself with. I did this kind of unconsciously, but it's definitely something I realized was very important to my success, by surrounding myself with literally the smartest people at the medical school. I was able to have better resources to study. I was able to study with someone who, would also study for long periods of time, and that would keep me going. They would be able to answer my questions at any time if I just didn't know, and the resources weren't telling me and I couldn't understand it. And that's all I really have to say about that. But 6, you need to wake up each morning with a good routine. For me, this is especially important. Maybe not as important for everyone else, but I'm pretty damn sure it's important for everyone. I like to study in the morning. I realized I wasn't studying as well at night, even though I guess, even though I might like to study more at night, I knew I got more done in the morning. So I'd wake up early, like, do what you got to do. But I was waking up at I realized I was better in the morning and that I would just procrastinate it in the evening. So I would go to bed earlier and I would wake up earlier whenever I had the opportunity. So there was a time I was that was compounding, and I started waking up at 3 a.m. to study. No joke. But yeah, whatever works for you. If you're the opposite, then do the opposite. Stay up till whatever 5 in the morning. But you do what's actually best for you and not what just feels better. If it feels better and makes you do better, fine. But that's not always the case. So yeah, wake up each morning with a good routine. Mine was cold shower in the morning. It'd wake me the hell up and remind me of what the purpose that I'm on. I'm like, shit, I'm getting shit done today. I'm taking today serious. This is not something. This is no joke. So I'd get up, take a cold shower, cold, stay in there, accept it. Get a peanut butter toast, eat that up, or just kind of have it for when I start studying, and a coffee, which I had set up the night before. And then you sit down and you hit it hard. Whether it's, well, if you're in medical school, I was doing, you do your reading, look at slides if you're into that. For me, it was more questions. Doing questions is very important. Questions is like everything. Especially in medical school. That's the best way to learn, and I won't go too into that but repetition with questions and practicing. You have to fill in the answer, and it's not you're just reading across a page or highlighting a page or anything like that. You have to actively think of the answer. That's the best way to learn information. So for me in medical school, it was Anki, which is a spaced repetition thing. It's pretty much like flashcards, but super recommend that. Don't use it for everything, but it's definitely important for me. Again, questions, question banks, and reading. Get a very good reading resource. Whatever the smart people recommend. Essentially, at that time, it changes at times, so I won't even plug any. But yeah, so that was my morning routine. You just hit it hard. And then number 7, when you relax, do things and listen to things that motivate you. So for me, it was, I was listening to the audiobook version of David Goggins' Can't Hurt Me, his book, as well as other things. I mean, I keep mentioning that one, but yeah, do things and when you do relax, actually relax. Don't be going on something that stresses you out, like social media or watching things that get you worked up or anything like that, or like talking to whatever, I don't know, whatever your deal is, an ex that gets you worked up. You should have got rid of that when you were eviscerating the bullshit in step 1. Yeah, and then listen to things that motivate you. Talk to people that keep you going. You're hopefully that was taken care of with the friends that you've picked. Now that you're in medical school, and that's one nice thing about medical school is you're in probably a different location than you grew up, and you can make yourself a whole new person. You can have a whole new life. I completely altered who I was, what I did on a daily basis, and what was important to me, essentially, when I went to medical school. So, I mean, especially when you go in the Caribbean, you're not by anyone. So, but yeah, I mean, Caribbean's great. If you end up getting in the Caribbean instead of American medical school, it's not over. You got this. You have to sacrifice a lot. You got to work your ass off. It's not as easy for you to get in as American medical students into a residency. That's just how it is. It's not impossible, and it's not even insanely harder than what they have to go through. But you do got to do better. You got to do better on your step 1, which is the big test in medical school. And you got to do better on step 2, which is the other big test pretty much after medical school. So step 1 is the biggest test for you, and that's what you're studying for day 1 of medical school, or even before it, if you can get on that. And yeah, that's pretty much your everything. That's your baby. That's your mom. That's your dad. That's your girlfriend or boyfriend. That's everything. So just get it done. Just get it done. That's your future. That's your past. Okay. I don't know if I've made that clear enough. But don't really worry too much about your grades at the school. Just get it passed. It's all about step 1. Just that's what you're studying for. So yeah, get it done. That's pretty much all I gotta say. Just do work. Just sit down and do work, really. And you learn a lot about yourself along the way. You learn who you are, what you can take, and you kind of your place in the world too. So through the sacrifice that you endure, you figure out a lot about yourself and how the world works. And just keep fighting the good fight. Keep on keeping on. That's the move in medical school. So, all right. Well, if you got this far, appreciate you. If you got any questions, let me know. You can hit me up at thatisunprofessional@gmail.com, or tweet at me at ProMD, not ProMD, at not ProMD on Twitter. But yeah, this is Trevor. Appreciate you guys. Peace.